It's the Mad Master here. It's been a while since I've done a video, and this has kind of been in the works for a while. This is totally unscripted, by the way. I should just forewarn you of this, but I've written down some notes over the months, but thought I'd do this video, and it's all off the top of my head, on the top of my head. So for a couple of years now, I've been reading about a lot of different stuff like red pill. Obviously, the pickup artist thing, which to me just comes from the self-help movement and neurolinguistic programming, which I may actually go into in further videos down the road. What I think about all that stuff, because I've been fascinated by a lot of the stuff for a while. I'm fascinated by Scientology and stuff like that too. I've read a lot of books about that, but I'm not a Scientologist. Just to clear that up, but. So this MGTOW thing, which I will admit I don't completely understand it. Or maybe I just am confused by the meaning of it. So I first read about this like about 2 years ago. So let's just read what they have to say. Men go in their own way as a way of life, which refuses to defer to women in defining the worth of men. Instead, it focuses on positive male aspects, inviting men to go their own way in life. Men going to their own way is a way of life which refuses to defer to women in defining the worth of men. Instead, it focuses on positive male aspects. Okay. So, at first I thought it was just guys that just didn't want to actually... okay, well this is like the MGTOW definition here, what I was thinking, the number one. Men going their own way applies to all men who don't subscribe to the traditional lifestyle, go to school, graduate college, find a girl, settle down, get married, have kids, etc., etc. Singular is MGTOW. Wow, that reminds me of something. Man going his own way. Reminds me of MeHow, this pickup artist guy. It's kind of funny. This term is often used in conjunction with men's rights terminology, MRAs, blah, 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 blah. View the traditional lifestyle setting them up for failure. Half marriages end up for divorce. Three-fourths of it. I don't know where they get these statistics. I'm not going to doubt the statistics. I'm just saying I don't know where they get the statistics from. So I don't have enough information to comment on that part of it. Four out of 5 those divorces resulted in child custody for the female. I think that's changing to some extent. A male who gets married today has a very high chance of being divorced by his wife and never seeing his kids while being forced to support them financially. A sort of model that punctuates MRA statements, blah, blah, blah. Anti-female. Okay, general. So they're trying to get it kind of, it was kind of like this general statement, like kind of like feminism or, MRA, which, believe it or not, I know a little bit more about MRA than, your average fucking douchebag that thinks, oh, it's some sexist movement. So, but, this is kind of like the general definition that people usually use. Geared more towards a general political, economic, cultural system that fails both males. Okay. Ghosts. Oh, this is interesting. Used to describe men who lives as ghosts. Wow, this is weird. Expatriate males who choose to live abroad. Prostitutes, escorts. What the fuck? Okay, so, all right. So I've read a few of these things. Oh, okay, this is kind of good. You should go to the gym because you want to be healthy. Oh, this, okay, so this is where it kind of, oh, wow. So, okay, so however, if you do these things slowly, it's talking about some of these stuff that, like, the PUAs talk about, like, go to the gym, dress respectably, overcome shyness. Okay, because you want to do it. It's, that's a pretty good point. So, movement's origins, anti-feminist movement. I'd consider myself, I wouldn't say I'd say by a textbook definition, I'm an anti-feminist, not anti-women's rights, but modern third-wave feminist. I know it's kind of a moderate, some might think it's cowardly kind of definition, but, I see feminism as I don't think that feminism is half as dangerous as like Ted Cruz and people like that. However, as a cultural force, trying to enforce social constructionism and, you know, Marxist dialectics on humanity, I think it is dangerous. I'll go into that later, maybe not in this video. I'm just going to talk about this, men going their own way. So there's a lot of these things going on. So the problem I have with men going their own ways is just so, it's very simplistic and very, it lacks a lot of, it seems very old-fashioned and simplistic, but it has this perception, a lot of the, it actually is kind of like the PUA movement, where it's a simplistic definition of how women operate and men operate. And instead of like feminism definitely has a simplistic definition of how, you know, men are the oppressor and stuff like that. MRA and especially MGTOW. MGTOW is like MRA, to me, MRA on crack. Like, it's just fucking like, the MRA thing brings up a lot of good points. The MGTOW thing is just like, nah, man, I'm just going to go my own way. Fuck those bitches. Yeah. You know, and I agree with, like, I'm sure half these things on these forums and these websites I agree with. But one thing I don't agree with the MGTOW movement is that giving up on women is just, to me, it's just it's a lack of understanding of women to me. And that's kind of where the PUA thing comes in, because I think, at least with the PUA thing, I'm not talking about Roosh V or some of the, like, the red pill stuff that kind of crosses over, or even, I would even dare say, some of the real social dynamics guys are too far in this weird direction nowadays. And I'm talking about PUA as in, like, Neil Strauss or David D'Angelo or Evan Pagan, whatever, you know, whatever name you want to use for it. Dr. Paul, hate to say it, but Ross Jeffries to some extent, even though he's kind of a fucking, like, I think a lot of his stuff was, and this is kind of a conclusion I've come to, I think he was sort of trying to be like an Andy Kaufman kind of character, like in a lot of ways, like over the years, like he was selling a product that he thought might have worked, but it was also sort of a big setup too. Because, well, for a lot of different reasons. I like a lot of the stuff, you know, he had to say, but, and a lot of the PUA stuff is a scam because it's so overpriced and just ridiculous. But anyways, overall, if you're talking about like the original PUA movement that grew out of some of the websites like fastseduction.com, this is no longer in existence, or Alt Seduction Fast, and most of the stuff on there was free, by the way, I should add. There were, you know, people trying to sell stuff. It became an industry really after like about 2003 or so. It was an industry because they were selling Ross's product, but, you know, a lot of the people that wrote all these writings and did all this stuff were, you know, were just people writing shit on forums. And as a matter of fact, I know I'm kind of, you know, sidetracking here, but David D'Angelo's Double Your Dating is on allseduction.fast, which is the original PUA forum. It was just a series of articles he posted on there, and then he wrote it, you know, put it in a book and sold it for $30. But anyways, enough about that. So the PUA movement, what is fascinating and appeals to me about it is that it tries to understand these dynamics between men and women instead of shying away from it or running away from it, which I think the MGTOW thing kind of does. And the MGTOW thing, I dream about getting married and having children. That's one of my goals in life. And I think it's natural. The funny thing is, like, a lot of these guys will talk about evolutionary psychology or biology and how women aren't following their natural evolutionary roles in our society. They'll say that on one end, and then on the other end, they'll excuse, you know, they're not following their roles by some fucking, you know, it's like, nah, well, we're not going to do that now. Yeah, these bitches, man, they just want our money. Yeah. It's like, there's a lot of fucking gray area in there that people don't talk about. I mean, for one, I'm on OkCupid now, and I notice a lot of women are polyamorous. I mean, there's a huge percentage of, like, women that are choosing to live these polyamorous lifestyles, and that just totally blows up the fucking, you know, these ideas of women, you know, they're all looking for this thing, and, you know, it's just these, it's just there's different lifestyles. There's all these different, and a lot of it I think is kind of silly. Gets a little silly at times. Like there's all sorts of different genders or identities, binaries, and all this shit. It's like people aren't really following the rules that these people imagine are still there a lot of the time. And to be fair, there are still a lot of there's a lot of women that are gold diggers, or there's a lot of women that but most of the relationships that I know of, people were from the same economic strata, the longest relationships. I don't think I've met a lot of, and so as far as like, and I know guys. Let's say like the stereotype about the older guy with the younger woman who's just in it for the money. I've known guys that are like fucking, and I've mentioned this in videos before, but I've known guys that were literally like unemployed. And I'm not talking about anybody that I currently know, by the way, in this, because I do actually know people who were unemployed. Well, I've known several people that were, had much younger women as girlfriends or got married or whatever, and they were basically fucking unemployed, or they had other things, they had other problems or issues. It's like the MGTOW guys are they're so black and white about all this stuff. That's why I don't like it. And to give up is ridiculous. I don't believe in giving up. I believe in finding someone that you can be with, but on your own terms. Maybe that is men going their own way. And obviously, it's proved very difficult for people like me for various reasons. But to give up and to do that out of some kind of social statement just seems kind of ludicrous to me. It seems like just the opposite side of the coin of the extreme radical feminist. And I'm not talking about the MRA thing, because the MRA thing is pretty different, I think. I think the MRA thing is acceptable in many ways, because they talk about these statistics. The problem I have with both MRA and MGTOW and feminism and a lot of this stuff is that the presupposition is that, oh, it's us versus them. We're the victim because of this or that. This monolithic entity of people that can't even be well defined a lot of the time, or their definition lacks nuance and any kind of scope in a certain way. We're the victim of this entity, and it's our job to bring it down. It's like, that's a very definition of Marxism. Basically, is the proletariat versus the bourgeoisie. The people that own the factories are trying to bring the working class down. That's the dialectic of history is that. And so, in a way, I'm saying that MRA and MGTOW are very Marxist, but in a different way. Of course, you notice on the bottom here, a lot of the links that have these what was it? Interman China. That's pretty funny. Mises Institute Media, stuff like that. Like totally libertarian kind of, or Shift Radio. Okay. Yeah, that Shift guy is just fucking, he was on Alex Jones a lot back in the day. Yeah, it's just kind of, it's kind of ridiculous. I understand, the autonomy, the need for autonomy, but I think I like it better, the original PUA movement, where they talk about, like say Neil Strauss, probably the best person that kind of took a lot of the best of all that stuff and threw out a lot of the worst in some of his ideas. Becoming a better person, a more attractive person, a more interesting person, because you want to improve yourself, but also a side effect of it is attracting women that you desire. To me, that's far better than just fucking running away. And I think if you had choice, and this is a big part of the PUA thing, choice trumps all, they say all the divorce rate is all this and all this shit. So if you had choice with women, I'm not saying that everything would work out just fine, But if you're the kind of guy that has, I think a lot of the guys that end up divorced, and I could speak about family members or whatever, a lot of the time the woman does have like this upper hand, you know. I'll have to agree with that. The guy's kind of a beta male, quote unquote. Whether it be he's like more passive or doesn't really stand up for himself or something like that. So if you're that kind of guy, you're gonna draw a woman that's domineering and that these MGTOWs are talking about. So instead of complaining about that, I'm not saying I'm not talking about like domestic abuse or becoming like some kind of jerk. I just mean like standing up for yourself, having self-esteem. If you have and just like the old adage goes, if you have self-esteem, you're going to attract other people with self-esteem. So I'm not saying it's all. I'm not like a Pollyanna about this stuff, but I just think this MGTOW thing is it's like going way too far. I think for me it's like I know people that have lived in this PUA lifestyle, regardless of what people think about it, or what, just the lifestyle of like sexual abundance without like committing to a serious relationship, which is something that I really, honestly, I prefer to be in a relationship, and but I like to have choice. So I'm kind of in between the idea of PUA and maybe a more traditional conservative lifestyle. I'm kind of in between the two. I don't like the idea of just going around and having sex with random girls for the rest of my life, but I don't like the idea of just settling for one person. If I didn't have my shit together, they won't be the perfect person for me. So that's really why I believe in the PUA thing, or self-improvement, self-help. And I think that these things like MGTOW and Red Pill, well, like even Red Pill is almost like a halfway point in between MGTOW and PUA. And I think it's actually probably more dangerous than anybody said that PUA was, because of these just kind of ridiculous notions about men and women. And I know society does say a lot of fucked up shit, but if you peel back the veneer, a lot of it's you could live a better life by just ignoring it. I think if you ignore the shit, it's better. The ignorance is better than giving into this stuff one way or the other. And I don't think the MGTOW movement is I think it's giving in to a lot of these ideas, just like the whole idea that what's this looks money status. I see that in a lot of MGTOW or even some, maybe not MRA ones, but MGTOW videos. Looks, money, and status are needed to get women. It's like, well, I've seen so many exceptions to that rule, and I've seen people just meet someone that they're in love with and have a long-term relationship with, and it's fucking normal. Maybe they do get divorced in 20 years, and maybe it's an equitable. I've seen equitable divorces too. I've seen I've seen the guy get the house. It's just this black and white caricature that these people think. I think a lot of it has to do with their experiences. They view the world this way, and they don't really see. They see they have a myopic view on it. So I just wanted to do that video about MGTOW, what I think about it. I will never be a MGTOW. I believe in pursuing women. I like the idea. I like to have sex, and I like to have relationships. So, and I'm not saying that none of these guys do, but and then one more thing about that, it's like this. They believe in this idea of these, like, some of these guys are like, well, let's get a bride from East Asia, a mail, what do they call mail order brides? It's like, oh my God, fucking facepalm. And that's why I kind of complained about Roosh in one of my videos, because the pickup artist thing basically is about overcoming objections, not forcing your way through objections, by the way, I might add. Overcoming objections. Like a woman might say, oh, you're too old for me, or I don't go out with guys that dress like that, or they might say I'm at a different number of things. And the whole idea of the PUA thing is that you can, by being an attractive guy in various ways and doing various things that make you seem attractive, and that's where the make you seem attractive, that's what's controversial to most people. Of course, I believe in Faking it till you make it a lot of time. I don't care what people say about that. But a lot of people, that's what the PUA thing's about, is because you're turning into an attractive guy that can overcome a lot of these objections. A lot of these objections from the PUA standpoint are just part of the game. They're just part of the attraction process. Like if a girl throws out some objection, she's testing you. Like that's the whole idea. I don't believe women and men are robots. Like a lot of the PUA thing is very into this idea of this like the static kind of thing with women and men, and that's why a lot of people hate it. But I do believe that a lot of times there are tests that people throw at you, that women throw at you, and like if they say things a certain way, the fact that they're saying things at anything at all means that they're sort of interested. You know, if they're like lackluster, or like ambivalent about you, that's in the PUA world, that's like, okay, well, yeah, they're not attracted to you. I mean, I'm saying ambivalence plus a little bit of dismissiveness, but non-ambivalence plus extreme like engagement, or I shouldn't say non-ambivalence. Non-ambivalence plus like some tension. That's and maybe a little bit of dismissiveness, which sounds like kind of confusing. That is a test. That is a test in the world of attraction. There's no denying that. And that's my problem with women, is that, or that the problems I've had with women is I feel like there's a lot of ambivalence. It's not like, oh God, he's so ugly. It's like, oh yeah, that guy. So that's my problem. But enough about my problem. So I don't agree with the MGTOW thing. I don't agree with the red pill thing, because the red pill is like halfway between PUA and halfway between MGTOW. And the MRA thing, they have some good points, but to me it's a victim mentality, just like feminism is in a lot of ways. I'm an egalitarian. Somewhat of a life. I mean, I guess lifestyle wise, I don't really believe in. I believe in I believe in the Kool-Aid of the PUA scene a lot of the time. I believe that you can become an attractive guy. I still do believe in this, even though in a lot of ways I haven't lived up to a lot of my venturings into some of the stuff up until now, or whatever you want to say. Even though I would say that I would credit a lot of this stuff for changing me and getting me to where I've been in life. But I believe in the promise of change, of self-change and attraction. And that's one thing that I believe the MGTOW thing, or even a lot of the red pill thing, gets wrong. So I do believe men and women are probably wired differently to some extent, especially cis, whatever you want to call it, cis, hetero, women and men, which is basically the audience of a lot of this stuff. I believe they are different, and I think that there's a lot of stuff under the surface that these MGTOW guys just don't get. And there's issues like, they talk about all this stuff. And yeah, this scroll tells no one right way to deal with women. Screwed up society encourages them to indulge their baser instinct. Baser. This sounds like some fucking puritanical shit too. What the fuck? So I don't know. I just have a lot of problems with this shit. I have a lot of problems with this garbage. I don't know. It's not garbage. Sorry, that was a slip of the tongue a little bit. Living in government influence. Oh, of course, they're fucking, yeah, whatever. Mises Institute. But yeah, I mean, they might have some good points. I think basically MRA makes these points better and with better articulation, and they don't have to follow these guidelines, And just God, it's just Oh, what else did they say? I am a warning to women, not MGTOW to spite or revenge. Okay. Weighing the pros and cons and of a long-term relationship, decide no thanks. Wow. Okay. All right. Wow. You're so cool. You're so much better than everybody else. I don't. It's just, God, the attitude of this shit is just so fucking warped in so many ways. And it's not like everything is hunky-dory with the other side. Like I'm saying, like it's perfect. Oh, man, you know, these guys are just totally full of shit. They don't have any good points at all. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the pendulum just swings so far to this shit that they just need to, I don't know. I think these guys just need to get laid, honestly. I say that about everybody. Christians, feminists, me, everybody. You know, everybody that has these stupid fucking this anger, they need to resolve it with some sexual intercourse. That's all I gotta say.